Ryan Kavanaugh is standing by. Ryan does a great job with us on all the high school football action. Ryan, how are you?
I'm great, Les. Merry Christmas, guys.
Same to you. Ryan? Great to have you with us because you are the John Carroll expert. And you keep hearing about John Carroll with these names pop up, but it's unbelievable. First, you got a couple of names, and you see the connection there. It's unbelievable. All right, let's start talking about him. John Carroll coaching connection here. You got Greg Roman, who's with of course, the Baltimore Ravens. The impressive thing about this, Ryan, is that he's changed offenses. He's done it twice and has been terrific each time.
Yeah, Roman, what I like the most about Greg is his consistency. And throughout change, as you mentioned, Les, you're able to adapt to not only different offenses, but different style of quarterbacks and different style of play. And Greg Roman has shown consistency, and obviously he's older than Josh, so a longer pedigree of doing it at the NFL level. Now, Greg was gone before I just missed him when I played at John Carroll. So I don't know Greg personally, but from guys in the NFL, obviously he's very well respected, and for the Cleveland Browns to get a guy like Greg Roman, I think that's something they should be very interested in.
And if you can get word to him not to be like Freddie and demand that you call plays, just to be the head coach, that would be a nice thing to do.
Listen, Les, I don't want to go on a tangent, but I really believe that we're going to see a shift in the NFL in head coach, offensive coordinator, because like Josh, who is an outstanding offensive coordinator, I mean, arguably the best in the league with what he's done, but when he took the job out in Denver, he was never a head coach, so he didn't have that experience. And I think you wouldn't hire a Josh McDaniels and ask him not to call plays. That would be taking the best arrow out of his quiver. But when you wear both hats, that's a demanding and oftentimes what it appears to be a problematic situation, especially for a new head coach who may not have that head coaching experience in the locker room.
All right, here you go. On screen, we've got Josh at 43 years old, coached in the NFL since, 2001, offensive coordinator with the Patriots since 2012, and was head coach with the Denver Broncos, and not very good. 11 and 17 is his record there, and of course he was a wide receiver at John Carroll.
Well, he came in as a quarterback. He might have been, and there's many reasons why Josh may be smarter than me. But after a year, we realized it was me, Caserio, Nick Caserio, of course, and Josh. And after 1 year, he realized how good Nick Caserio was at quarterback and saw an immediate opportunity to get in at wide receiver, and that's why he shifted over to wide receiver. Nick Caserio, for those that don't know, was a 4-year starter and an All-American at John Carroll. I always say that Nick was about 3 or 4 inches in height short of being in the NFL. That's how good of a quarterback he was.
Well, he was the director of player personnel for the Patriots since 2008. Pretty good resume right there. Dennis Maniloff has a question for you. Ryan, go ahead, D.
Hi, Ryan. We had heard on the radio today that Dustin Fox said that if Josh McDaniels were to be the Browns' choice, that John Dorsey would pretty much be on the outs because McDaniels would want his power structure in place, presumably Caserio coming along with him. Do you foresee that type of situation if McDaniels were to sit down with the Browns and I wouldn't say make his demands, but make his strong suggestions about what he thinks needs to be done?
Well, and I heard that too from Dustin. And if Josh does in fact have his front office in place, I would imagine it's one of two people. It would either be Nick, who he's very tight with, and those two. When you say they came up through the ranks, Josh got into the Patriots first, and then Nick was actually doing some financial consulting at the time and brought him on board with him. So those guys have been with the Patriots since the beginning. But another name that I wouldn't rule out is Dave Ziegler, who is as well he's like the lowest, he's at the next level. I don't know what his official name is for the Patriots, what his job title is. But he also played at John Carroll with us. He was a receiver, a kick returner. He's in the John Carroll Football Hall of Fame, and he is very close with Josh. Again, one of his best friends. But I would have to believe that if there's a name, if Josh says, and I don't know this from either of those two guys, but if Josh says, I have my own people, if Nick wants to leave New England, I think Caserio would be the guy, but Ziegler's a dark horse for that candidacy.
All right. So what happens here with John Dorsey, with Paul DePodesta? What happens with these guys who supposedly were the future of the franchise in the front office?
Well, the musical chairs at the coaching position, in my opinion, Les, means that your next coach is going to have to stay with what he wants. The Cleveland Browns are not in a position to say, we want you as our head coach, but you have to keep the GM and the front office structure. And if that's what Josh McDaniels wants, and you think Josh McDaniels is your coach, I think Dorsey's on the outside looking in. I don't see any other way you can do that, Les. I don't think.
No, I agree with you. Well, so what does that mean for his number one pick, Baker Mayfield? What does that mean there?
Well, I don't think you can give up on Baker just yet. I don't. If it's Josh and if it's Caserio, I think it's the Patriot way. With regard to quarterbacks, which means you draft another quarterback this year. One of the things that they've been consistent on is always having a backup quarterback, a mid-round guy, a Brissett, a Matt Castle, who they groom, and they put him into a situation where he could be the starter if they need him. And I don't know that the Browns have that right now. So I think that would be one of the first orders of business is to get another guy, and then Josh or whoever, if it is Josh, then you have a year to decide, is Baker Mayfield the guy? Quarterback, again, here's another tangent, Les, but very few guys come in and light the league on fire like Patrick Mahomes. A lot of quarterbacks, it takes them 2-3 years to figure it out, and that's what I see with Baker Mayfield. I don't see the switches on his mental computer firing as fast as they need to be to read a defense, to understand where the ball needs to go, and to get it there on time.
Plus, this will be his third head coach in 3 years.
You've got to cut Baker some slack. And there hasn't been consistency with the wide receivers, the offensive, as you said, the head coach, the offensive play calling. You're throwing an awful lot on this guy's plate, and unfortunately, I mean, that's the quarterback position, right? You get your name in the paper, and you also catch the flack when the team's not going well.
Ryan, my final question to you is, what is in or was in the water at John Carroll in the 90s? You got these football trees that sprung up with John Carroll. It's incredible to think.
How about Tom Arth, who's at Akron now, was a backup to Peyton Manning?
Yeah, I mean, and not just the 90s, of course, but the John Carroll football tree is remarkable.
It is. Well, we were watching Notre Dame the other day, and Greg Polian is the former head coach at Nevada. Of course, he's Bill Polian's son, and he's the special teams coach at Notre Dame. That was, you look at two key pieces for the roots, so to speak, and one of them would be Bill Polian, and that's where Greg Roman and his son Brian come from, and Caldwell. David Caldwell, who I believe may still be with the Bucs or the Chargers in the front office. And then you got Josh McDaniels, who, through I think a lot through his father, who was obviously a legendary coach at Canton McKinley and knew Saban and these sorts of people that got Josh to kickstart it. But when you look back at it, it's really something incredible. Nick Caserio, he actually, small world, he went to Saginaw Valley and he coached my brother and also a guy named Matt LaFleur.
Oh, jeez. Are you serious?
The head coach at the Greek. Yeah, honest to God. Nick Caserio coached. He was a grad assistant at Saginaw Valley. My younger brother was a captain, and his roommate was Matt LaFleur. So,
wow.
Nick, if he didn't decide to go, and for a long time, I don't know if people know this either, but I think even until today, Nick Caserio coaches during camp along with being in the front office. He'll go out and be a position player or coach. He's throwing routes. And he's on the headset, I believe. Even till today, I believe he's on the headset with Josh during games.
Wow.
I never knew that.
It's incredible
stuff.
Hey,
Ryan, thanks. Great stuff. John Carroll football is just a phenomenal story that I don't think the nation knows about, really. Everybody knows Bill Belichick and all that, but I think they'd be surprised what little old John Carroll has done, starting with Don Shula way back when.
Yeah, and if I could, Les, before I go, I got to give a shout-out to the godfather of this all. That's Coach Perella, Joe Perella, who was in the quarterback room with me, Nick, and Josh, and so much of the knowledge you see the Patriots doing, and both those guys would give a lot of credit to Coach Perella as well. But he last thing I'll say, when Coach Arth took the spot with Akron, there were 3 people there with him. It was Nick Restifo, his offensive coordinator at St. Ignatius, a guy named Bernie Kosar who knows the thing about the position, and the third one's the godfather of it all, Joe Perella from John Carroll.
Wow.
Well,
That's
thanks
awesome
so
stuff.
much.
And Ryan, by the way, you're part of that tree too, man. You are the man.
You know what? Every time you have a tree and there's like a little rotten apple that kind of falls and rolls to the side and nobody wants to pick it, that might just be me, Dad.
I got to tell you something. I just had a conversation with somebody about Joe Perella, and you can't talk about that guy without a smile on your face.
Oh, listen, we still lift at the same gym, and I'll go to work out, and it'll be an hour and a half later, and my wife will say, "What took you so long?" And I won't have broken a sweat. And I said, Coach Perella was there, and I talked to him as long as he'll let me listen to him talk.
Wow.
Great guy. Thanks so much, Ryan.
Phenomenal stuff, Ryan. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us on short notice. Appreciate it very much.
Happy New Year, guys. Thanks for having me.
Same to you, Ryan Kavanaugh. Great
That's
stuff.
just
no
phenomenal.
question about
yeah.
that.
I mean, and here's the thing. LaFleur is a little bit of an indictment on McCarthy because you see LaFleur come in first year
doing as well or better,
and they're the second seed in the NFC, and you go, wait a minute, how good is Mike McCarthy?